Всем привет, дамы и господа, с вами Алекс Азаренко. Худший эпизод Гриффинов в каждом сезоне. Watch Mojo. Я смотрел только пару серий Гриффинов. И то это было, когда я пришел с садика. Мама включила дважды два. Ну, может быть, так случайно. Она, может быть, листала канал и там увидела, мультики. Ну, пусть смотрит мультики. И там, помню, серию, где у Брайана и Стьюи... Где Брайан ел говно из подгузника, короче. Я люблю Гриффинов, но не смотреть. А смотреть тавтология во ВКонтакте. Вырезки. Вот эта тема. Мукбанк Реакт. Мармеладки. Let's go.
Это лучше, чем занятия в спортзале, где инструктор...
Блять. Все.
It's just two giant Swedish legs.
Congratulations!
Вот, я видел это. На днях я видел это. Позавчера или вчера я видел, и это прикольно.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we'll be looking at the most disappointing episode
Не, может быть, шведы и оскорбились, но, блядь, не, заебись.
of each season of
Блядь, если тут будет еще Питер Гриффин с маленькими ручками, я, блядь, расплачусь как сучка.
the long-running animated sitcom Family Guy. Spoilers will be mentioned.
Да, я знаю, есть эпизод, где Стюи приходит к психологу, и они просто всю серию пиздят.
So, you are warned.
How do you like them apples?
Вам похуй, у меня времени нет, чтобы чтобы Гриффинов смотреть марафоном.
Oh, Bat Damon, you got the best of me again.
Season 1. The sun also draws.
Господи.
Got the best of me again.
Посмотрите на этого Стюи.
Season
И посмотрите на этого Стюи.
one. The sun also draws.
Лиам Нисон. I found you. I kill you.
Oh my God, Brian, there's a message in my alphabet. It says, ooh.
Peter, those are Cheerios.
Я вот смотрел в камеру.
The first season of the show is solid, but still has some flaws.
Чё?
Cheerios.
The first season of the show
Я
is
никогда не видел Питера Гриффина босым. Кстати, я не могу не упомянуть сегодня. Короче, мы пиздели с друганами, и один сказал, да, нас этот учитель Питер Гриффин. Ну, блядь, этот чел реально большой был. И, блядь, это... Бля, ну если вот так вот смотреть, то да, на Питера Гриффина похож. Ну, в принципе, если спереди.
solid, but still has some flaws. In The Sun Also Draws, the writers developed Chris and Peter's relationship by having the latter come to terms with the former wanting to pursue art. We get glimpses of his father's outdated worldviews, such as him implying that
Что с его руками?
We get glimpses of his father's outdated world
Почему ладони такие маленькие? Почему руки такие тощие? Это выглядит как игрушка, ёпта. Где там заводной ключик?
views, such as him
Почему голова такая вот непропорционально большая?
implying that he only loves his child because he's a scout. We know he isn't exactly Father of the Year, but that still feels harsh. It isn't until he gets a message from his spirit guide, the Fonz, that he learns to accept his son for who he really is. While it isn't bad by any means, it certainly pales in comparison to the rest of
Блять, я, получается, все эпизоды... я, можно сказать, посмотрю все сезоны Гриффинов. Да, худшие эпизоды, но похуй.
the debut season.
You have anything on that remote lower than mute?
Season 2. There's something about Paulie.
Are you, please God, big fat Polly? Are you, please God, big fat Polly?
Он должен был засунуть его лицо в жопу просто. Пердеть.
Yeah, I'm Big Fat Polly.
We know that Peter Griffin isn't the best TV husband, but he was pushing the limits even back in the beginning. This episode focuses on him not letting Lois have any input. From buying a non-functioning car to carelessly allowing a member of the mob into their home, he goes out of his way to disregard her. When she finally puts her foot down, his complaints about it result in a hit being put on her. Even when they're asking the Don to call it off, he still talks over her and asks for dessert instead. While he finally gets it by the end, the combination of his choices and Paulie's personality made this the most annoying segment of an
чудачества Питера Гриффина меня не удивляют.
otherwise strong lineup.
Let's just say the car was a steal.
Say that again.
The car was a steal.
This time without winking.
The car was a steal. Wink.
Season 3, the kiss scene round the world.
I'm allergic to peanuts. You don't know anything about me.
Who was that guy?
After taking on an internship at Channel 5 News to be closer to Tom Tucker, Meg and Neil Goldman, a student who constantly harasses her, end up with their lives at stake. Thinking they're about to die, she kisses him, which is then televised all over town. He then can't help but rub it in by making t-shirts. To save face, she goes on the news to convince people she hates him, which is mean-spirited at best. So what was Neil's reaction to this?
Ну, очевидно.
Threatening self-harm. The extreme response was then cheapened after she saves him, and he reveals he essentially did it for her attention. It's uncomfortable to say the least, and neither character comes out looking
Почему у нее такие короткие руки?
attention. It's uncomfortable to say the least, and neither character
Что это? Блин, ну с анимацией в первом сезоне была беда.
comes out looking great.
Meg,
Но с реалистичностью.
you do care. Don't read too much into this, Neil.
Season 4, Jungle Love. Season 4 is considered to be one of the best, but that doesn't mean that every installment is without fault.
Oh, okay. I'll go look for a job, Lois. Oh, what is this? The latest Red Book. Is she gone?
Jungle Love was the most disappointing, focusing on Chris running away to a South American tribe after being the target of hazing. There, he quickly becomes revered and even marries the chief's daughter. The main issue
Нехуйственный побег, да?
comes from the jokes quickly becoming stale and primarily relying on references. While the series is known
Блять, это и... Да, это то, чем славятся Гриффины.
for its referential humor, the prominence of it in this episode was draining. Additionally, a few of the bits feel overly drawn out,
Завязчиваясь, да, это проблема.
killing them in the process. The best thing we can say about this is that it introduced Carrie Fisher's character, Angela.
Mr. Griffin, we have different rules here. For starters, no drinking. Period. We start work at 7 a.m. sharp.
Season 5, Bill and Peter's Bogus Journey.
Boy, that wasn't really a crank call. That was just unpleasant.
Originally, Lois was portrayed
Я хочу посмотреть, какая была прическа у Питера.
Really a crank call.
Он любил подлиннее височки.
That was just unpleasant.
Originally, Lois was portrayed as a loving wife, but this episode reveals some of the cracks in her character. After Peter befriends Bill Clinton, she disapproves of their relationship.
Блять, я подумал, кстати, что он напоминает мне Байдена, а это, кажется, другой президент, бывший президент Соединенных Штатов Америки, это Билл Клинтон, блядь.
When she decides to talk to the former president, she ends up sleeping with him instead. It was
Ой, ведь, Питер, пойми меня, я переспала с президентом бывшим Соединенных Штатов Америки. Я бы тоже с ним переспал.
completely out of character, as was her defense of her actions. Instead of going to therapy or divorcing, she tells her husband that he can choose anyone to be with, and he picks her mother. Luckily, he ends up not being able to go anyone to be
Господи.
with, and he picks her mother.
Ты должна потрахаться с моим мужем, потому что я переспала с Биллом Клинтоном. Понимаю, звучит пиздецово, но ты должна это сделать.
Luckily, he ends up not being able to go through with it, although he does
Блять, я угадал.
accidentally sleep with Clinton. Then Peter and Lois rekindle their relationship.
Блять, как у него очки не лопнули. Типа, можно было пошутить. У них была такая энергия, и очки взорвались.
Like nothing happened. It was a jarring moment and was the first instance of their dynamic shifting.
Our marriage has suffered a serious trial, but
Наш брак пошел по пизде.
I think we can get through it.
Me too, Lois. It's just gonna take a little work. In the meantime, I guess I better clear the air with Clint.
И больше не спать с ним. Я не хочу больше спать с Клинтоном.
Season 6. Play it again, Brian. While Brian's crush on Lois was well known by this point, here's when it started to become an actual issue.
Come on, Peter. We're gonna be late for lunch with Mom and Dad.
Oh. Right.
Я хотел рыбки.
After winning an essay contest, he invites Peter and Lois to the ceremony. Brian and Lois hang out after the event, and he uses their marital issues as a way to get closer to her, which leads to him throwing himself at her. Naturally,
Ну вы главное стоите, не показывайте.
Peter was upset, and the two of them ruthlessly
Это я ее ебу.
battled it out. While an incident like this would completely end a friendship and
Я тебе больше скажу, это, блядь, не случилось бы в реальной жизни, потому что нет собак, которые пиздят. Давайте будем реалистами.
real life, in typical Family Guy fashion, he was immediately forgiven. It was a case of the show setting up emotional stakes and refusing.
Господи.
He was immediately forgiven. It was a case
Опять эта короткая ручка.
of the show setting up emotional stakes
Мне еще понравилось, как он резко застыл.
he was immediately forgiven. It was a case of the show setting up emotional stakes and refusing to resolve them, which is an issue that persists today.
Hey, Lois told me there was some funny business.
Yeah, what of it?
Вы ебались.
Well, it's just, I can't help but feel a little betrayed, Brian.
Еще раз говорю, я ее ебу.
Season 7. The juice is loose.
O.J. Simpson? Yes. Was this...
Я вчера смотрел реакцию западного реакционера на выпуск ностальгирующего критика, где был как раз О.Джей Симпсон. Рекламный выпуск. Я король совпадений, мать его.
It's in the news?
Yes, Peter.
It's one thing to make jokes about the infamous O.J. Simpson trial, but centering an entire story around the controversial figure was an odd choice.
Пиздец странный.
Peter invites the ex-athlete to his home, to the horror of his family. We know he isn't the most observant, but him not knowing about the case felt unrealistic, even for him. When an angry mob comes to run the former athlete out of town, Peter dissuades them from doing so by giving a speech about forgiveness. If he had been accused of pretty much anything
А эпизод про Билла Косби будет?
besides murder, then this would have been a great moment about not putting celebrities on a
Чтобы вы понимали, про Билла Косби и про О.Джей Симпсона я узнал благодаря ностальгирующему критику и благодаря рекламным выпускам.
pedestal. Instead, it ended up being a hollow setup for a bad punchline.
I forget to take the trash out some days.
Иногда я забываю вынести трупы.
I've left the toothpaste cap on the bathroom counter. I've taped football games without the express written consent of the National Football League.
Season 8. Peter Asment.
Hello? Oh, hi, Angela. Hang on. Peter, it's your boss.
I don't want to talk to her. She's gonna harass me.
Don't be such a baby.
There's a reason heavier topics aren't often tackled in this program. After Peter
Гриффины, серьезность? Чего, блядь?
goes into work without his glasses, Angela becomes smitten with him. She begins to harass
Я,
him.
кстати, задавался вопросом, а как выглядит Питер без очков? Так же. Ну, просто душек нету. И все. Вау.
Even going as far as to physically grab him. When he tries asking for help, he's derided by his own wife and essentially told that men can't be harassed. While this did help shine a light on some double standards, it was still hard to watch. There isn't
Двойные стандарты.
even a happy ending. Peter feels compelled to sleep with her so that she doesn't end her own life. Even if he
Да чё ж такое-то? Ну, надеюсь, у нее был счастливый конец.
used
Это
Morton's
шутка с PhD ностальгирующего критика.
instead, the implications were unsettling. She absolutely if he used Mort instead, the implications were unsettling.
Этот парень вообще, блядь, из-за того, что его унизили при всех чуть того... Короче, да.
She
Перебор.
absolutely should have faced some sort of consequences, and yet nothing came of it.
Just sleep with me just this once and it'll give me everything I need.
Я всегда мечтал переспать с чем? С работы. который не носит очки, и который Питер Гриффин.
Sleep with me tonight. Save my life.
Season 9, Excellence in Broadcasting.
Oh my God. Rush Limbaugh was right all along. Conservative republicanism is the answer.
While Brian's
Что, блядь?
character started to transform earlier, Season 9 is when his true self came out. He had been shown as a critical thinker with his own set of beliefs,
Как человек, ага.
but Excellence in Broadcasting did everything it could to reverse that. When controversial radio host Rush Limbaugh came to Quahog, the K9 abandoned his own principles to instead follow in his footsteps. It was embarrassing to see him try and convince others and himself that he wasn't anything more than a contrarian. He even resorts to attempted torture as a product of his new mindset. While we understand wanting to add
О,
some
привет, Обама.
nuance to the character, this did the opposite of that and instead retconned his intelligence, which unfortunately
Бля, мне этот зэк нравится.
ended up being a permanent change.
Sigma Boy.
Look, Brian, all I'm saying is it's not normal for people to change their political views so radically overnight.
Season 10, Screams of Silence, the story of Brenda Q.
I want the girl I grew up with back. I want my sister back.
Ого, как говорит Майк, плачет. Извините, но я крови. Нигде. Не видел ничего такого.
While bottle episodes can be a great way of adding depth to some sitcoms, that unfortunately isn't the case here.
Я еще видел у него желание трахаться. Жиза, но чтобы он плакал, ёпта.
Screams of Silence, the story of Brenda Q, is focused around Quagmire trying to rescue his sister from an abusive relationship. There are several drawn-out fights the viewer has to sit through, and some of the characters even call the victim names. Joe's career isn't helping her situation, and so the guys decide that the only way to end things is to kill her partner. All in all, it's emotionally draining, with hardly
Мы хотели тебе помочь. Помогли, блядь.
any comedic moments. With this
Блядь, ребят, у вас комедийный сериал. Какого хуя?
and Seahorse Seashell Party, they proved that they were extremely out of their depth when it came to emotional topics.
Chris, you treat me like you hate me, and I don't know why. You say hurtful things to me constantly. Do you have any idea what that feels like?
Season
Мне похуй.
11, Turban Cowboy. Moments like this make it hard to root for the program. After a skydiving incident, Peter meets
Я сразу вспомнил песню про спид.
a Muslim man in the hospital and befriends him. Quagmire and Joe immediately make their prejudices known, and in another series, they would be proven wrong. But this is Family Guy.
Да.
So instead of having a nice lesson about not judging those different from us, they validate those dangerous tropes. While the series had made countless cracks against
Вот эта сцена, где... Так, черный. Ага. Проезжай.
various religions, it had never portrayed their followers as truly villainous. Until now. They tried playing both sides by alluding to unfair aspects of the justice system, but it came across as a cheap attempt to not be seen as Islamophobic.
That was
Я впервые слышу такое слово «исламофобы».
some pretty rough stuff.
Да.
You didn't cry, did you?
Well, I mean, I went through an awful lot.
Peter, if you cried, we are done.
Season 12, Herpy, the Love Sore.
When we swapped blood, look at my lip! It's a disgusting herpes sore! And now I have some very uncomfortable phone calls to make.
Sometimes it's possible to push the limits of a character too far. Between Peter trying to marry his son in fresh air and
Так, осуждаю. Говорят, вообще на территории Российской Федерации организация. Только мама и папа, а не папа и папа или мама и мама.
Brian giving members of the family a venereal disease in this episode, viewer loyalty
За ППП.
to the show was tested. In Herpy, the Love Sore, Stewie innocently wants to become blood brothers with Brian and is
Мы реально братья по крови. Но у меня, блядь, герпес.
then infected with herpes when Brian fails to disclose his status. Not only is that disgusting, it's also illegal. When it's revealed that Chris also has it, the two brothers set out to get revenge, only to drop it when the dog confesses he kept it a secret out of humiliation. Between the story and the visuals, it's gross and destroys Brian's character even further.
What the hell do you guys want from me?
I want to drive your Prius to the end of the block all by myself.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yay!
Season 13, Stewie.
Okay.
Yay!
Season 13, Stewie is on Saint.
Так.
Oh my god, that thing's positive. Is Lois pregnant again? No. Meg is pregnant? You're getting warmer.
Блять, это оно.
This is the moment where
Питер беременен.
the program jumped the shark. After feeling as though Brian is ignoring him, Stewie decides that the most rational option is to impregnate himself with his friend's children. With him being
Это уже перебор, блять.
a literal baby himself, the implications are already uncomfortable at best. We can't even blame Brian for his initial reaction. When they do have the children, they
Не, это другой.
immediately prove why a dog and toddler make horrible parents. Their kids are literally falling apart in front of them, and so they decide to completely abandon them and move on with their lives. It was an incredibly unpleasant storyline, and we wouldn't be surprised if it was the last straw for many.
Блять, у нас эту серию бы не показывали. Ну сейчас-то, блять, у нас очевидно Гриффинов не показывают, ну сука. Потому что у нас, блядь, закон о многодетности. А тут, блядь, плохие родители. Хотя много детей.
This is for the best.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll be adopted.
Oh god, yeah. I'm still keeping all the gifts from the baby shower.
Season 14, Peter's sister.
Ну чё, пердёшь задницу?
Hey, Karen. Welcome to our...
Bring it in, PP!
For the most part, Peter isn't shown with siblings.
Да. Я видел момент, когда у него появляется куча братьев, блядь, и... Короче, куча версий Питера.
However, in season 14, his sister Karen was introduced. They don't have a great bond. However, in season 14, his sister Karen was introduced.
Она из шеи свернула нахуй.
They don't have a great bond, and a lot of her mistreatment towards Peter is reminiscent of how Peter treats his daughter. While it's interesting to see him get a taste of his own medicine, Karen takes it too far. It sucks the fun out of the moment and also gives a glimpse into the generational abuse that he was a victim of and which...
Какая, блядь, ирония. Сегодня смотрел выпуск про рестлинг. До Ютуба он, конечно, не дошел, но в телеге вы можете его посмотреть.
Continues. The end also felt undeserved. Meg puts her aunt in a coma, and it's implied that she doesn't survive. Although she wasn't a great...
Просто тут даже...
fun out of the moment and also gives a glimpse into the...
Не, она должна была просто лежать, а судья такой, раз, два, три, все, нахуй.
Die.
Do they think she's gonna survive?
It could go either way. Hello? No, I think I'm a different blood type.
Season 15, Hot Shots.
We were gonna get Stewie vaccinated, but now after our research, we're definitely not.
Oh, no, Lois, don't tell me you fell for all that anti-vaxxer crap.
Some topics don't need to be tackled by this series, and the vaccine debate is definitely one of them. After learning about the supposed side effects, Lois immediately goes on an anti-vax crusade.
О, эта серия понравится антипрививочникам.
Even arguing that they cause autism. It made people realize...
Кстати, блядь, благодаря Watch я также узнал, что такое аутизм. У них был топ скандальных реклам, и там была реклама, где говорится «Я аутизм», и там ребенка показывают, короче, да, блядь, пиздец.
Just how much she had morphed from the person we had seen in the first few seasons. She and Peter managed to turn the whole city against the medicine, and it isn't until a measles outbreak occurs they realize they're wrong. While Sean Penn is able to save the town in time, Lois still refuses to apologize for what she's done and instead chastises him for lecturing her. It was an irritating episode with some of Lois's worst moments.
Like clean water and functional schools, vaccinations are a human right.
Great, just what I needed, a lecture from liberal Hollywood.
Season 16. Send in Stewie, please.
Send in Stewie, please.
Oh, I can go in now? Oh, fantastic. He's ready. Marvelous.
While the concept of Stewie in therapy is certainly interesting, the writers weren't able to stick the landing. Anything that was revealed about him, such as his British accent being fake or his personality being a farce, was dropped by the end, leading people to wonder what the point was. Additionally, a lot of the jokes felt drawn out, particularly his assessment of his doctor's life. The fact that there were no cutaways meant that the whole plot was essentially one long conversation, and unlike in Brian and Stewie, it had no impact on his character by the end. The cherry on top was when he let the counselor die, showing that his evil side
Это тоже, я про это тоже в курсе. В общем, пиздец, бля.
had never truly left.
I don't understand. Why aren't you getting my medication?
Yeah, listen, you're not gonna like this.
Season 17. You can't handle the booth.
In fact, you know what? I'm tired of it, Peter. You're dishonest, you're disrespectful, and frankly, I deserve better.
Sometimes we can't help but wonder if Peter and Lois even like each other. In You Can't Handle the Booth, the Griffins are recording DVD commentary, but get derailed by constant arguments. At one point, Lois even claims that Chris isn't Peter's son.
Ну и съебитесь от него.
If the couple had never fought
Долбоёбы.
before this, then maybe viewers would have been more invested. But they were used to their toxicity at this point. In a bizarre twist, Seth MacFarlane makes an appearance as himself to tell them that they are all fictional characters.
Это, блядь, мета.
So nothing they do truly matters.
I'm actually here to tell you there's no need to talk sense into Lois, or for a paternity test, or for anyone to leave the show, because none of you are real.
А Питер, это я. Сет Макфару. Пошел нахуй.
Of course, the
Макфару.
couple immediately reconciles and goes
Не-не-не-не, нахуй. Я, блядь, не успокоюсь. Сет Макфарлейн, сука, выговорил.
that they are all fictional characters. So nothing they do truly matters.
I'm actually here to
That they are all
need to talk sense into Lois, or for a paternity test, or for anyone to leave the show, because none of you are real.
Думаете, мы, блядь, не можем вас вернуть? Наши аниматоры вас вернут.
Of course, the couple immediately reconciles and goes through the song and dance of them saying they love each other. It was a cop-out ending to an already
Вот, кстати, я помню, я на «Дважды два» увидел это шоу и не смотрел. Я просто листал «Дважды два» и смотрел что-то, потом началось вот это. А потом от Watchmonger я узнал, что это одно из худших комедийных шоу. Сет Макфарлейн создал говно.
flat story.
Какашку создал. Хотя, казалось бы, чел создал Гриффинов.
Well, from now on, Peter, I'm not going
Quiet! My character's talking!
Honestly, Peter, I don't know how
I know,
you did
that right there was the main reason we split up.
Season 18. Bryda.
Why did you bring up a reference to something you know nothing about?
It
Какой-то умный вопрос от... Нигде.
reminded me of...
Brian, don't bring up a reference to someone whose favorite movie it is, because you'll just embarrass yourself.
Quagmire may hate
Блять, я думал, ему только ебля волнует.
Brian, but sometimes he takes his resentment too far. After Brian reunites with Quagmire's transgender parent, Ida, they decide
Пиздец, этого бы у нас точно не показали.
to rekindle their relationship. The two are genuinely happy, and the audience gets to see Brian progress as a character. Unfortunately, Brian tries to press Quagmire into a sort of father-son relationship, despite the son in question being an adult. After Brian embarrasses him at a backyard football game, Quagmire gives Ida an ultimatum: her child or her boyfriend. It was manipulative, and he didn't even look apologetic as the couple said their reluctant goodbyes. It was a rare moment where the fans felt sympathetic toward the dog, which goes to show how awful the demands were.
He's my son. I've made my decision.
Я его родила, а тебя нет.
Bye-bye, Brian. You're
Bye, Brian.
history. And this time, history's not coming back to life. Night at the museum.
Season 19. Cutaway Land.
I don't understand how we got here.
All I know is that we both set up this cutaway at the same time, and now we're inside this cutaway in Australia.
Talk about wasted potential. Peter and Lois get trapped in a place consisting of their cutaways, scenes that interrupt the main scene. They decide to take this opportunity to spend some time away from their children. Beyond that, the plot didn't really go anywhere until the whole family was stuck with them. Most of the runtime was filled with references to previous jokes, which lost its charm early
Не опять основа, блядь.
on. While the eventual solution was fun as a callback, it felt rushed. To add insult to injury, the whole experience actually ended up being in Peter's head the whole time. While we know Cutaway Land could never truly exist, it still felt like they took the easy way out.
Oh, maybe you shouldn't have eaten those raw oysters.
I'm fine. Let's just go home.
Season 20, HBO No. The anthology episodes of the sitcom are usually hit or miss.
Let's start with Game of Thrones, which aired 8 seasons and was beloved by America for 6.5 seasons.
While some stay true enough to the source material, others just feel like a wild guess. HBO No was unfortunately the latter. The gang recreates different HBO originals, mocking the various tropes. Peppered throughout the parodies are self-deprecating jokes about their lack of awards, which were way too similar to a previous segmented installment. Fans felt as though the show had phoned in the jokes, particularly when it came to Game of Thrones. It was a classic case of an interesting concept, but weak execution.
А жаль, они умеют в пародию.
It also didn't help that there had already been another slightly underwhelming anthology, Rock Hard, including 2 in 1 season came across as excessive and slightly lazy.
Yep, it was fun playing dress-up, but I think we can all agree that for Sunday night
Fox?
entertainment, Fox is the place to be.
Before we continue, go into your set 1, The Candidate.
That's disturbing even to me, and I've been to an eyes wide shut party.
It's sad to see how Peter and Lois's relationship is transformed. In The Candidate, Stewie runs against Doug, his enemy, for the role of snack captain. It's a pretty standard election, with the two utilizing smear tactics. Then it takes a
А Трамп победил. Сосай, Харрис.
dark turn when Chris tells his opponent that he was an accident. Naturally, this rattles the baby, and his sibling didn't help by giving him a tape of the night of his conception. He learns the
Ой!
unfortunate truth
Ой!
that he and all his siblings were conceived
Я знаю, что Крис жертва порванного гондона.
non-consensually. Peter is even
Не обоюдно.
heard being fearful and telling her to get it over with. In the end, it didn't matter. Stewie won after Doug suddenly died. It was a rash ending.
Я думал, тут будет эпизод со смертью Брайана. Нет, окей.
And of course, never mentioned again.
Brian, say hello to the new snack captain.
Which season do you think had the worst episode? Let us know in the comments
А типа момент с Брайаном, который всех возмутил.
below.
What was that?
Hilarious mom wine joke.
You think so?
Did you enjoy?
Окей. Надеюсь, это выйдет на ютубе. Но это не рестлинг. Ставьте лайки, подписывайтесь на канал, жмите на колокольчик, чтобы сказать новое видео. Пишите комментарии, ставьте телегу. С вами был Алекс Назаренко. Всем спасибо за просмотр. Всем пока.